They said it was a tragic accident. Aaliyah, just 22 years old and on the verge of global superstardom, died in a plane crash that should have never happened. The story made headlines across the world: a rising star gone too soon, a freak aviation mistake, a nation in mourning. But for those who knew Aaliyah, and for those who truly followed her journey, the circumstances surrounding her death have never sat right. Because when you look beyond the surface, when you examine the timeline, the people involved, and the industry she was trying to break free from, her death begins to look less like a tragedy and more like a calculated setup. This is Industry Eye, and today we're taking a hard look at what really happened to Aaliyah. Was it just a tragic plane crash, or was there something more sinister behind the fall of one of R&B's brightest stars? Aaliyah Dana Houghton was more than a talented singer. She was a movement. From the moment she stepped onto the scene at just 14 years old, she had a presence that was undeniable, smooth, mature beyond her years, and guarded in a way that hinted at someone who'd seen too much, too soon. Her debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, was written and produced by R. Kelly, a fact that still stirs deep discomfort today. At the time, Aaliyah was just a teenager, and not long after the album's release, reports surfaced that the two had secretly married. A marriage certificate leaked, listing Aaliyah's age as 18 when she was actually only 15. The documents were eventually annulled, and the entire situation was buried, swept away by handlers, lawyers, and industry insiders who had every reason to protect R. Kelly's brand and Aaliyah's rising stardom. But the trauma didn't disappear. Aaliyah never publicly addressed the relationship. In interviews, she would shut down any questions about it. There was pain behind her eyes, guardedness in her tone. She was young, yes, but she was also being moved like a chess piece through an industry that knew how to cover up its darkest secrets. And Aaliyah learned quickly: say nothing, smile, performance, protect the brand. Over the years, she began stepping into her own power. She cut ties with R. Kelly, started working with Timbaland and Missy Elliott, and redefined her sound. Her sophomore album, One in a Million, was a game changer. She introduced a futuristic, sleek style to R&B that hadn't existed before. She was becoming an icon. But more importantly, she was becoming independent, and that's when things started to shift. By 2001, Aaliyah had just finished filming Queen of the Damned, where she played the lead role of a seductive vampire queen. She had signed on to star in the sequels to The Matrix, a franchise that was dominating box offices. Her third studio album, self-titled Aaliyah, had just dropped and was poised to be her most successful yet. She was crossing over from music to film, from teen star to grown woman, from managed product to a woman in full control of her artistry. And then she died. August 25, 2001. Aaliyah and her team were in the Bahamas shooting the music video for Rock the Boat. Reports say the shoot had gone smoothly. She was happy. The footage was beautiful. They had chartered a twin-engine Cessna 402B to fly them back to Florida. But here's where the story starts to fall apart. Multiple eyewitnesses later claimed that Aaliyah was uneasy about the flight. According to reports from the scene, she didn't want to board the plane. It was too small, it was overloaded, and the pilot wasn't who he claimed to be. One source claimed Aaliyah was actually asleep or sedated before being carried onto the plane. That detail, if true, changes everything. Why was she in that state? Who insisted she get on the aircraft? Then there's the pilot, Luis Morales III. He wasn't legally licensed to fly the plane. Just 2 weeks before the crash, he had pleaded no contest to cocaine possession. FAA records later showed he had faked his medical forms, hiding his substance abuse. After the crash, toxicology reports revealed traces of both alcohol and cocaine in his system. So the question must be asked, how did he get hired to fly one of the music industry's biggest stars? Who approved that decision? How does a man with no valid credentials, under the influence of drugs, end up flying a multi-million-dollar celebrity? The aircraft itself was also dangerously overloaded. It had been designed to carry 8 people, including the pilot, but there were 9 on board, along with hundreds of pounds of video equipment. A witness on the runway reportedly warned the team that the plane was too heavy, but someone pushed the flight through anyway. The official report blamed the crash on the pilot's inexperience and the overloaded plane. Case closed. But for many, that explanation raises more questions than it answers. Here's what you need to understand about the industry. When an artist starts to step into their own power, when they begin questioning contracts, fighting for control, and distancing themselves from the people who built their careers, they become a threat. Aaliyah was at that point. She was rising fast and moving differently. She was about to enter a new level of fame, one where she wouldn't need the same handlers, the same deals, the same compromises, and for an industry that profits off control, that can be dangerous. There are rumors that swirl in the background of Aaliyah's death, rumors of conflicts over her catalog, disagreements with executives, and power struggles behind the scenes. For years, her music was kept off streaming platforms due to legal battles between her estate and Blackground Records, the label run by her uncle, Barry Hankerson. Her most devoted fans couldn't even access her songs legally, not until 2021, a full 20 years after her death. And even then, the rollout was plagued by accusations of greed and exploitation. Damon Dash, who was dating Aaliyah at the time of her death, has spoken publicly about her discomfort with the industry. In interviews, he's described her as someone trying to escape a world that had taken so much from her. He said she didn't want to get on that plane, that she was ready to take full control of her life, her career, and her story. He has never outright said she was murdered, but he's made it clear that he believes people around her failed her, or worse, they used her one last time. In the end, Aaliyah's death fits a disturbing pattern in the entertainment world. When an artist becomes too big, too independent, too vocal, something always happens. Sometimes it's a scandal, sometimes it's blackballing, and sometimes it's silence, permanent silence. Her death shocked the world. But in the decades since, many of the people who were responsible for protecting her have gone quiet. No one has ever been held accountable. No lawsuits, no criminal charges, no real investigations, just a few official reports, a toxicology file, and a series of quiet settlements. So, was it an accident? Or was it a message? Aaliyah was about to change the game, and she wasn't playing by the rules anymore. This is industry eye. And in this business, stars don't just fall from the sky. Sometimes they're pushed.